Say we gon' set your day right, yeah. Na, 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 na. We gon' turn it up nice. Na, 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 na. Get ready for the time of your life. We bring the vibes and we bringing it right. We're the Brunch Bunch, doing it right, doing it right. Go we on here and we ready to bring the fire. Turn the radio up. Go we on here with the Brunch Bunch, take it higher. Turn the radio up. Go we on here and we ready.
It's Financial Literacy Month, and y'all know what this time is. It's the Brunch Bunch, and y'all know who I am. I am the queen of the sauce. Charmaine from Uncle Remus Saucy Fried Chicken. It is Financial Literacy Month, and all month long we're talking what? Money. How to make money, how to make you better with your money, how to find money, find a man with some money, find a woman with some money. Money answers all things. Now, not the love of money is the root of all evil. Don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to say that, but money answers all things. And if we know better, we should do better, which is my assignment today as I sit here to let you all know that at the bottom of the hour, we're going to bring somebody on that's going to help you do better and talk about the disparities of the wealth gap of women. But until then, I am posted up with two of the best people in the world from the inside out. That is none other than, I'm going to Marseil Action Jackson first, who said he was cold. What's going on?
It's freezing, but you know what? It's true that money can't fix everything, but not having money can't fix anything. That's why it's called being broke. I'm so excited to be posted in the studio with the money maker herself.
I know that's right. Yeah, that's you.
What's up, believers? It's your girl, Tamera Fair, on the air, and I am excited about this Wednesday right here with the Saucy Fried Chicken Queen and your man on the street, Action Jackson.
I could use some of that saucy fried chicken right now.
I could tell you look hungry. Guess what?
Cold.
You know why I could tell you look hungry? Because I'm so hungry. Like Wednesday, you gotta start bringing some nuggets, some Uncle Remus nuggets.
I have to plan my schedule better. It's called time management.
Do you sell shrimp?
I do sell shrimp.
Oh, that'll be so good with that sauce. Bring that next week.
Can I explain to you guys how excited I am about today? Marcel and I had a very brief but powerful conversation. We're going to talk about it when we come back. The world was watching as the jury handed out that 3-piece guilty, guilty, guilty. Now, me and Marcel had a great conversation on my way into my mother's house because I wanted to be with her when the verdict came in. I was a little bit nervous, and we're going to talk about the conversation.
I wasn't nervous. I already knew they was going to find him guilty.
No, Anyway, like I said, we're going to talk about that conversation. But it was a turning point as the entire world was watching, as I said before, and it became synonymous with justice, relief. Reactions were pouring in on Tuesday in the United States and around the world after the verdict that found the American police, Mr. Chauvin, guilty of death of an African-American, George Floyd. In London, the Free Shot Metro went with a simple 3-word headline, guilty, 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 referring to the 3 murder and manslaughter counts for which Chauvin was found guilty. In Sweden, the verdict looked forward, quoting the United States President Joe Biden in its headline, saying the Floyd ruling is a big step forward. Meanwhile, in the English language website of China's state-run Global Times relegated the story to a brief headline to the single paragraph, former U.S. police officer Derek Chauvin found guilty of murder and manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. Now, when the world is watching, you know that something is really up in the mist, right? Mm-hmm. And change is in the mist. And so in the analyst, the guy's name is Jason, Dr. Jason Johnson. Okay, so he's a correspondent on MSNBC. He's also a political analyst, and he said that he asked his entire class, which is full of black people. He's also a teacher over at Morgan State, which is a HBCU, and he asked them, it was about 24 males in the class, and he said, do you think that he's going to be found guilty or he's going to be acquitted? Of the 24 people in the classroom, how many people do you think said that he was going to be guilty?
20.
0.
Oh, 0. I thought you said acquitted.
Okay, let's say how many people you think that said he was going to be acquitted.
24.
20.
4 people say he's going to be acquitted. So that just goes to show you how the disparity is between
the mistrust,
the actual mistrust between the community and police enforcement. But see, what I am excited about is that all of those other policemen got up on that stand and they told the truth.
Yes.
They could have stood behind the blue coat. And right at the very wake of this situation, another heinous crime happened with a little girl in Ohio. You know, our man on the street, Reggie Banks, he sent us that information. Did you get it? That the man on the street.
Yeah, that was my wedding to call Cassidy.
Yeah,
but
I'm
go
not going to
ahead
talk
and talk about it.
No, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let you talk about it. But I just want you to know that I am so excited. I was in tears when that came down. I was like, oh, this is kind of like the O.J. Simpson trial. But no, not really, because the O.J. Simpson trial seemed to divide the country, divide the world. But there were as many white people that were cheering for a just verdict as were black people. I do know that when you saw the people outside of the courthouse, it was a mixed group, and that's what I think is. We got to lock arms. We said this last week. We got to lock arms with our brothers from other mothers and other persuasions, and really finally solidify the cohesiveness of America. This was a victory. It's the win, but it's not the end. That sentencing, we still got to look at.
Yeah, this was like a battle. We won the battle, but we have not won the war yet. Exactly. And we still got a lot of fighting to do.
So we need to see who this judge is, because he needs to do the maximum for each count.
Well, the thing they said on CNN, he will not get, none of these charges will carry life in prison.
Oh, I didn't
but they will
life.
Be very long
he needs to get the maximum for each charge.
I think he needs to get 929, which is 77 years. 929 months, 77 years, 77.14 years.
Well, I just want to say what I was so excited about this verdict, because I said it here on the show, and as I was putting the clip up on Instagram, the verdict was being read, so I didn't even put it up. But I said, if it don't come out the way you want, don't tear up the west and the south side. Just stay downtown. But thank God that it came out the way that the world wanted it to.
Oh, let's talk about what you thought. Let's talk about what you thought.
But before we talk about what I thought, I would like to point out a few things that I think is very important from this trial. I think it's sending a great message to police officers, law enforcement, that you can tell on these riding police officers and you won't be reprimanded or get in trouble or fired because they had a union backing them, so they don't get fired. But I think the blue code, the silence, stops them from just rather quit. But now you can stand up, speak out, and not get in trouble. You don't have to, because a commander testified against him and several police officers. And it's also sending another message that you cannot continue to kill black people and keep your job and keep working.
Yeah, and a lot of people, first of all, those were very spot-on analysis. I truly appreciate that input. And I think that a lot of people are waiting to see what everyone else is thinking before they formulate what they think. But the resonating common sentiment is relief. I can breathe. But don't breathe too freely, because you still have to be on your P's and Q's. They're still stopping black people. Just in Brooklyn, a 25-minute drive down from where Floyd was killed, a 20-year-old black man was shot dead by the police during a traffic stop, and we've already covered that. Yeah. But we still are having these heinous crimes. But now I want to revert back to what we are doing. Don't be distracted by this, because we are still killing each other too. So we've got some healing to do across the board.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that the family said, and I appreciate the verdict. I'm happy and excited for the verdict. I'm still somewhat grieved. I've never watched the tape. I have yet to watch anything. But I think his brother, someone in the family, said Chauvin still got off easy because he just got to be handcuffed instead of the long death. But I got that he inflicted upon.
Well, I think when he gets to the state penitentiary.
Y'all think he gonna kill himself?
No, but I think it's some brothers in there that's gonna make him feel real good.
Welcome. Some people gonna make him feel welcome.
I'm waiting on the welcome committee. But I did before you just talked about the black on black crime, which is another pandemic in itself that we have to work on. I watched a Facebook Live video last night that made me so upset. The young lady, I believe she's the baby mama
To the
of the 7-year-old that was killed. I believe did a live and was going crazy, and apparently she's been accused of setting the guy up because of that list that I told you about, showing that he got the $20,000 PPP. She gave the quote-unquote ops the address of where he was at, and he knew they were coming down. And in the video, she said he knew they were waiting on him, and he took his daughter anyway, thinking that would stop them from shooting him. And that's why the young lady
this is heinous. Right?
It's very, very,
So
very
this was
heinous.
the mom who was saying this?
You know what? A Southsider put on the video, I'm from out south, I can't understand this West Side lingo. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm ready to go. But then I said, I don't understand it either. I couldn't really understand what she was talking about. But what I gathered from it, and everybody else who watched it, is I guess in the hood, they've been saying she set him up, and she went on live. I ain't got to set him up, and he knew the ops was at him. That's why he went on Facebook, and he bogus for getting his daughter, and he knew they were coming to get him. But apparently that list, I don't know if you heard yesterday, Charmaine, we talked about this list that they published online that shows everybody who got the PPP. Anybody can search the name. It tells you how much they got, when they got it, their address, the bank they got it from, everything.
Yep.
Jeez.
Well, you know what? A lot of things we have been accused of, and one of the things that we've been accused of, I'm saying we as a culture have been accused of, is copying the Caucasian culture, right? And we cannot copy that part of. Like, we can't keep killing each other because they or the police are. And I'm not saying all the police, of course. I'm just saying that's what makes the news. But I'm just encouraging everyone to just take a beat. Now, in acting, we say take a beat, right? And that means to pause, get yourself together, or just pause and then go into your. But I'm saying take a beat and then repeat the beat. Because then you have that 3-second pivotal moment where you can make a different decision and have a different outcome. We have got to bring some new situations to the table in order to effect new change. Because this can't happen. This can't continue to happen. On either front.
On either front. Well, believers, I tell you, we have to, stay informed, stay protesting peacefully, stay advocating, doing everything we can. Because as Tamera said, our biggest problem right now, in my opinion, is our self-hate. And we have to love each other, believers. Just spread the love. As Tamera always say, lead with love and land on love. And because we love you here on the Brunch Bunch, so don't go anywhere, because y'all know what's coming up. So much more to share. You're listening to the Brunch Bunch on Inspiration 1390.
It just hurts me to have to bring this news, but an Ohio police officer was caught on camera shouting "Blue Lives Matter" to a group of shocked residents at the scene where another officer shot and killed a black teenage girl in Columbus, Ohio. On yesterday afternoon, just as the guilty verdict was being handed down in the Derek Chauvin murder case, a Columbus officer shot 16-year-old Micaiah Bryant dead after responding to a 911 call about an attempted stabbing. In a Facebook video taken in the aftermath of the shooting, upset residents can be seen talking about what happened when a nearby officer appears to yell to them, "Blue Lives Matter." One of the residents can be seen reacting angrily, saying, "Blue Lives Matter? Crazy. That's an insult, especially at this place right now." Now, the Washington Post reported Tuesday that another cop on the scene was wearing a Blue Lives Matter face mask.
You know, all the degrees that I've gotten off of TV and all my Law and Order episodes and different law programs, whenever there's a police shooting, I always see the police have remorse immediately afterwards, right? And I have family in law enforcement, and they've never shot their gun and hit anybody. They've shot their gun at somebody, but not to, and never landed on anybody, never killed anybody. But you would have to get into their psyche, and a person who just does not have any regard for life like that, whatever the reason was they shot the child, that's one thing. But for you not to have remorse about it, that's another thing. And particularly, you're supposed to be protecting lives. You're not supposed to be rejoicing when lives are gone. Lives are lost. This is ridiculous.
And so they got a call about an attempted stabbing. So that means she had a knife. And it just made me think about like the old Western movies where they say you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You don't bring a gun. You don't have to shoot somebody who apparently, because now I'm sure once it unfolds, they're going to say, well, she had a knife and my life was threatened or something.
But did she charge them?
I don't know
That's what
yet.
I'm saying. That all of that, we don't know the particulars about that. All of that is one thing. But for a person that people look up to, that's law enforcement. And still, no matter what, if you call the police, if there's something going on, people going to scatter because they either have fear, respect, or both, right? But to a person that's supposed to be lauded as a person that's revered, like a police officer, for you to say that, that's like Trump spewing the hatred that he was hating. It's inappropriate. It's no place for that.
Yeah, so I hope he's reprimanded because, like you say, officers are to protect and serve. Serve and protect, not serve and disrespect.
Well, that's why they served him that 3-piece.
Which I can use from Uncle Remus. But before I pivot, and I don't want to forget, let's just continue to pray for this family.
Definitely.
Because it's another name, another hashtag, another justice for another protest. Yes. And it's getting old and tired.
Well, see, when you layer the disrespect on like you did, you didn't have to, police officers in Ohio. You could have dealt with the situation, whatever it was, and not put yeast on it, because now that's going to be the focal point, right? Yeah. That's what we're going to be talking about, that you were super disrespectful at the death of yet another black person.
We keep saying, COVID-19 was a world pandemic that caught us by storm. We weren't prepared, but black people have been weathering this storm because we've been in a pandemic for over 400 years. And so we got to continue to pray for our country. We're going to pray for the good police, but we want to stay protected and prayed up. And speaking of protected and prayed up, if you have not gotten your COVID-19 vaccine, there are free COVID-19 vaccinations this Saturday, April 24th, 2021, at the Greater St. John Bible Church, 1256 North Waller. It's free, but you must make an appointment by tomorrow, April 22nd, and that number is 773-294-0879, 773-294-0879. And for those of you who want to know, it is not Johnson & Johnson. Okay. It's not Moderna. It's Pfizer. And I have an appointment.
Well, you had an appointment last time.
Third time's the charm. That 3-piece, 3 is the number. I'm going to go play that in the lottery when I leave here. 333.
Yeah, we talk about being vaccinated, and it's definitely a personal decision. And we are still praying for Miss Tamera Fair for her decision to change.
I don't know why you're praying about the change for me. I'm changing. I want to pray for y'all to change.
Speaking of change, real quick, I just got an update. The young lady is the one who actually called the police.
Oh, wow. Okay, the one who's deceased now?
Yes.
Oh, wow. The one that's deceased now?
In Columbus, Ohio, she called the police.
I still don't understand how we need to get some more information.
But you know what? This happened in Chicago a couple of years ago. Betty and LaQuantanio Greer, he had mental issues but wasn't, psychotic. His father called the police to get some assistance. He had a bat in his hand. Police shot into the hallway, killed him and his neighbor because she was just looking out the door to see what was going on in the apartment building and ended up dying.
But if the girl who called for her protection of the police, I don't think she had the knife.
That's what and the story unfolds. We're gonna keep you updated.
Don't look perplexed, y'all. This happens all the time. Just like remember our resident Republican, Phil Coleman, his brother got shot when the parents called because he was having a mental episode because he was bipolar. And they called the police to quell the situation. They shot and killed him.
My cousin was killed by the police too.
I've had 2 comments. One says they did call, but then another one says there is a shot of her with the knife about to stab the girl I'm just the messenger. We understand that, but we don't know which girl.
Yeah,
is the
so
one
we
with
had to really get down to. I'm going to
Yeah.
really research this story, and the news will keep it unfolding.
Right.
Absolutely.
But we definitely. The craziest thing is with these type of stories, it almost makes you not want to call the police.
I don't ever call the police.
I don't either, you know. Nah, I ain't gonna lie. A
Not
couple times
ever.
I was looking at my window, saw some stuff going on. I dialed 911.
I used to. When I was growing up in the Highlands, I would have the police follow me home because I was always the one that took
What's
everybody.
the Highlands?
Jackson Park Highlands in the South Side.
I don't know anything about the South Side.
Okay, well, anyway. But now I wouldn't ask them to do that because you just never know.
Well, I called one time on some guys that were like doing too much, and you know what? The police told them I called.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just say your neighbor called and said you guys are out here. And I was like, they trying to get me killed.
Right. Well, you know what? There's a lot of issues that we have to deal with. But in order to deal with them all, you got to give them to the Lord. Because He sees all, cures all, and makes it all right, y'all.
Well, you know what? We still have a caller.
Oh,
Can we
okay.
take a caller on the line?
I think
Hey,
so.
listen, it's
Caller,
up to you.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, you said you had some quick facts about the Ohio incident. We're listening.
Am I in the air?
Yes, you're live
Yes,
on the
we're
air, sir.
listening.
God bless you. I am a former police officer, and there are some facts that occurred in this Columbus shooting. The body cam has been released,
Okay.
and so therefore we need to do our investigations before we make opinions and assumptions. The fact of the matter is that this shooting was justified, and let me tell you why. The young lady who called the police was having an altercation with another young lady, and when the police arrived on scene, she was armed with a knife, and she was in the process of stabbing the other young lady who she was having an altercation with. Therefore, deadly force was justified in this case because she was in the process of committing a felony toward another person. Deadly force does not have to be just only in the case of the officer's life being in imminent danger, but if another person's life is in imminent danger, while in the commission of committing a felony, the officer has the right to use deadly force to protect the young lady who was being stabbed by Miss Bryant, and that's exactly what happened. The body cam has came out. They put it out immediately after the incident had occurred because of transparency. And if you look at the body cam and look at the totality of the circumstances surrounding the incident, that shooting was justified.
And thank you very much for
Thank
that
you.
clarity. We truly appreciate, particularly law enforcement officers like yourself, giving us that update. The focus on the segment, though, was the disrespect for the officer saying blue lives matter as if black lives didn't matter. And that's why we tried to stay away from the weeds of the situation because we weren't really clear about it. But the disrespect was the highlight. So thank you so much, officer, and be blessed, you and your families.
Absolutely, God bless.
No, that was. I'm glad he
Yeah.
listened and called in because we need to hear both sides of the story. But like you said,
Absolutely.
the focal point was the disrespect of the Blue Lives Matter. But that was good to know. And our resident number one fan was texting us at the same time. Reggie said she did have the knife and was about to stab a girl.
Mm-hmm.
They said they shot her to protect another person.
I just don't understand why they just. I get it. I know the officer is listening. It was a knife. Why couldn't they just tase the girl? It just bothers
Oh, I
my
wish you would have
spirit.
asked him that because that was
I mean, I don't know if is he still on?
But I guess you know.
Okay, he's still on. He's not on. But
Oh,
I mean, I'm
okay.
sure he's listening. But you know what? We can table
But
this
he
segment
said
till
proper
tomorrow.
protocol. So
Proper
I guess
protocol.
in that
That is proper. They are trained.
Maybe
I
they
get it.
should. So now we should see some reform in the training of if it's not if it's just a knife, can't you tase somebody and they don't?
Well, it depends. It depends on if you call the police and you black, then you might not get tased. If you call the police and you other than black, you might get tased and taken to get some
We
hamburgers.
saw that in Brooklyn, Minnesota. The officer said she thought she was reaching up for a taser and
Yeah.
it was the gun. So I guess
But the officer
Well,
makes a
this-
great
the show is
point.
not
You know,
about that.
The officer makes a great point.
Sorry. The segment is over.
But the problem is that so much has been clouded that masks the truth that you don't know what to believe when you hear the truth. But I am so glad that he lended the truth to that situation.
Thank you. And maybe tomorrow you all can pick this up because the lines are blowing up about this topic. And as I said, someone else was just calling in. But unfortunately, caller, if you're listening, call tomorrow. Perhaps you can get your rebuttal in to the officer who just called. Aletha Wilson is a financial leader, advisor, and strategist with the comprehensive financial planning practice, Wilson Financial, located in downtown Chicago with Northwestern Mutual. She has expertise in a diverse scope of business operations, financial policy development, corporate governance, and nonprofit management. Currently, Aletha primarily works with business owners and medical professionals and assists her clientele with integrated financial planning that can help them gain access to strategies for improving cash flow. As a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors, Aletha is currently a member of the Chicago chapter and has previously served as Vice President of Academic Relations and board member of the Chicago West chapter, creating alliances and colleges within their businesses and accounting programs and inspiring college students to pursue the professional of internal audit. Her community uplifts and service comes with a vast array of background. She was one of 10 professional women who mentored African American women and girls in personal growth, spiritual development, and career paths. Her lifelong commitment to the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has been her focus on inspiring women in the service of sisterhood. I had to say that for you, Tamera.
I'm an AKA.
Sisterhood. Oh. See there?
But I did put up the diamond.
You did put up the diamond. I saw you put up something. Well, anyway, all of us are sisters in the Lord and in the Spirit. I didn't know that. I thought she was putting up the Delta sign. Show you how much I know. But Aletha, are you there?
I am here. Thank you. It is so great to be here.
Thank you. Welcome. I love your tagline, helping you play financial chess, not checkers. Talk about your initiative now with the disparity. This is Financial Literacy Month, talking about women and our financial planning, our retirement planning, and the disparity gap between women and men. In that area.
Charmaine, first let me say thank you and the other hosts. You, Charmaine, have been a pioneer woman in business. So I grew up on the west side of Chicago. So you were a woman in business before it became popular to be a woman in business. You were doing it. So I take my hat and my tam off to you.
Thank
you.
I
just have to share, though, women, we are so underserved and so devalued in this space. And coming from Women's History Month into Financial Literacy Month, I work largely with women, and I tell you, we're different. We're different, and until we can acknowledge how and why we're different, we can't close that gap. It's like trying to discuss black community, and until you understand why and how we're different, we can't close it. And so with women, there's at least 3 fundamental differences that I have to share first as we kick off. One is that we still earn, there's a pay gap, we still earn only 81 cents to every male dollar. Doesn't matter what career, if you're a professional, if you're an entertainer, sports, it doesn't matter. We are, on average, earning 81 cents to every male dollar. And then for women that believe that they were going to just start their own business, level up, do what they need to do, and make as much money as they can, at least 2/3 of those women, although they're still empowered, they're having challenges. They can't get access to funding. So getting less money is one thing. Then we live longer. Statistically, we live longer than men. So not only do we have lesser money, we have to make it last over a longer period of time. So lesser money over a longer period of time is something.
So,
and then lastly, of course, we're caregivers. We're caregivers. We're the most nurturing and the most giving and the most sacrificing of our career than anyone else.
So when we hear this and you're rattling off, nothing that hasn't been told to us or that we don't already know. Yeah. But what is it? Because part of you say you want to give women peace of mind. You want to help with that. Because the reality is the gap is 81 cents. We can't do anything about it. But if we know better on how to manage, we should do better. So what is it that you do with your initiative giving us that peace of mind?
You know, and that's it. We have to know better. And I use what's called a safe approach. It's a safe way that I use with women in particular, where we have to run SAFE, self-awareness, fear, and emotion. If we can first prioritize self, because that's one thing that's a little different, then that's the first step. You know, understanding why we should do it. Charmaine, I have so many female clients that will always ask, other than some of my male clients that will ask, you know, should I save for my child's education as opposed to my retirement, or should I put my goals off? And as important as education is for the children and everything else, there's loans, there's scholarships, there's so many things that they can get, but no one is going to give us a loan or a scholarship or anything to save for our retirement. So we have to prioritize self and then understand the goal that we're trying to reach. You know, it is mathematical. If there's a goal there for long-term planning or long-term savings or retirement, whichever one it's going to be, we have to look at that horizon, understand how we want to live when we get 65, 70, and when we've mapped that out, now we can start working, because we have to get through all that other stuff before we can even get to the numbers. So we get to the numbers is the first piece to answer your question, and that's first by just really sitting down doing a blueprint. You know, looking at what comes in, what goes out. And I love to say it's a cash flow. I don't like to use words like budget because it seems too limiting, but we need to see what's coming in inside our bag and what's going out. And from there, our goal is to try to at least have a 20% surplus of whatever that is. It's not 10% anymore. It's not 15%, because things like pensions and all that, they're dying away. So we have to make sure that we're going to have enough money. So we get to that 20%. Now we can take that 20% and we can start strategizing. Now we can start playing chess. It's great that we may have done a couple good things. We may have a couple investment accounts. We may have, you know, some insurance here, but how do we make them work together? You know, in chess, you see the whole board. You know, you're looking at everything. So not that checkers is a bad game, but in chess, you're going to be a little bit more strategic. Right. And so you have to see the whole board.
So now I'm really happy that you're saying this. We're really excited to have you here on the show. Thank you so much. And the 81 cents to every dollar that is earned for women, the gap gets even wider when you're talking about black and minority women. That it goes down to 66 cents. So what are some of the strategies that you have to level out that gap that you can share with women?
We have to, you know, thank you for that, because it does. It does. There was a Forbes article that came out in 2019, since you mentioned that, and it shared then that a single black woman that was 20 to probably 40, their median net worth was negative $11,000. And if you took a single black woman with a bachelor's degree, now, same thing, bachelor's degree is the first one, and a bachelor's degree over 60, their median net worth was $11,000 positive. Negative 11 for the 29-year-old, over 60, a positive 11,000. A white woman, single, median net income, net worth was $384,000 according to that study. So there is, just to bear witness to what you're saying, there is a gap with being a black woman in finance and trying to do this. So we have to start earlier, and we have to understand the benefit of compounding our money. And we have to know that just like that gym bag or that tool kit, you just can't have one thing in it. You just can't have a hammer in the tool kit and think that you're about to build something.
Right.
You have to be able to have more things in our financial bag, or, you know, we're going to have problems. So if we think we can retire or live and have everything off of a 401k, and we get to be 65, what happens when COVID happened again? Or what happened when March 2020 happened and the markets were down 35% almost? So we've got to have more places to pull money from. You know, that's one thing. We got to be strategic. And then we're compounding. We just can't have everything in the market or everything in the 401k, because now we're not tax diversified. Or are we market diversified? So I see diversification in so many different ways, more than just asset allocation when you're dealing with the stock market. I see diversification in, we got to have more than one kind of tool in our basket. So it might need to be a 401k that acts differently than a Roth IRA, or it might need to be an annuity, which acts different than something else because it's going to give you some guaranteed income, or it might need to be some permanent cash value life insurances where you can take money out and take it out in a very safe tax environment, as well as the way it grows. So when the markets are down, you can go pull your money from somewhere that the markets can't even touch. So you got to have a strategy.
So, Alita, I have a question. You know, I know you're talking to the women, but no. So my question, I just wanted you to clarify for the listeners, and our Facebook audience is saying, "Wow, this is so true. Thank you so much for this segment." But explain compounding interest, and can you give an example of a type of investment that someone can earn compounded interest?
So, yes, thank you for that. Compounding really is the length of time that you're going to have your money grow. So when I'm doing presentations, I had someone give me this example, and they gave this trivia question. They said, what would you rather have? Would you rather have someone give you $1 million today or give you a penny that doubles every day for 30 days? And everybody in the audience, anytime I ask that question, would you rather have somebody give you $1 million today or have a penny that...
Run that million. Run that million. Oh, no, go ahead, Alita.
The thing is, if you had that penny that doubled every day for 30 days, you would have at the end over $5.6 million just in 30 days because you allowed your money to compound. So they just run it. I actually took a calculator. That's how... I took a calculator and did it every day and just to see, and it was true.
One penny? I'm sorry. 1 penny?
Yes, it doubles itself every day, yes.
And in 1 month, it's worth $5.6 million?
Oh, yep, absolutely.
Jeez. Now, what stock? Will you have some inside tips on how we can get a penny?
Well, don't look perplexed because the IRS interest doubles and compounds every day, so that bill is exorbitant.
You know, that's just an example of the compounding. You were just, wherever you have it, you're just doubling your money because you're giving it time to grow. And you're allowing it to have time to improve itself. So what we think may be valued today as one lump sum, when you double and you compound the interest or the dividends or how it's growing, it will then serve that purpose, Marcel, that you will now be able to see your money, what you put in today will have a future value later on. And that's the beauty of it. And you can do that in different types of vehicles. I mean, whether you are, that's what's happening even in your retirement accounts, many of your investment accounts. Your money is just doubling. It's actually, or not doubling, it's growing. It's growing consistently. And even though it is swinging in the market world, it's in the stock market or whatever market you're working in, whether it's in a bank account or an investment account, it still should be growing. So the longer you have your money grow, the more you'll have at the end.
So everyone who's listening, I know that everyone has a desire. Someone who's listening may say, I have nothing, but where do I start? Because a lot of this talk, Roth IRA, compounded interest, is somewhat intimidating to someone who doesn't understand, number one, anything about money, who's never saved, who's never
even heard of the vehicles,
or feel like I work a minimum wage job. How do we get them to start? This is Financial Literacy Month, and
Absolutely.
Our goal here is to get somebody to start. The song says, if I could just help one somebody that's listening, that person who may say, I want to plan, but I don't even know how to plan. So how do they start?
Yes, the first thing I have to say, you have to sit down with someone because there's so much noise when you try, noise of ourselves, noise of other people when you try to start saving. And so I'm going to always advocate to sit down with a professional. Don't necessarily sit down with your Uncle Jim or your Auntie May. That might be okay to some degree, but sit down with someone that can really help you plan. And in that, you're going to start where you are. I use that 20% as a surplus that you're looking for. What if it's not 20%? What if it is 15%? What if it's 10% or just 5%? Progress is better than it leads you to perfection. I just say progress over perfection all day long because as long as we are making progress and taking $100, if you have $100 and that's all you can work with a month, then let's see how we're going to take a little bit out for short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals. And if you need to pay off a little debt, we'll put a little towards that. But at least something should be going into all of those buckets of savings. Save for now, save for a little bit in between, and save for a little bit for later.
Because go ahead. I was going to say, even with the insurance, the way to go through insurance, if you have a whole life policy that gains money, if you're young enough and if you start now, you'd be kind of really pleasantly surprised on how that can grow. And in 5-10 years, you do have money to pool to make a larger investment. Am I correct?
You are absolutely correct. That is one of my absolute favorite topics. Permanent whole life insurance will help to achieve some of those goals because it's made to help accumulate cash in it.
Exactly.
And you have to sit with someone that can make sure that it's...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that it's crafted right, but it will do that. And you're able to put money into it so that later you can have access to that cash and then some in a very safe environment.
Exactly.
Meaning it won't go backwards, meaning it's not correlated to the stock market.
Yeah.
It is a great way.
And most of us don't know that, but the other persuasion uses that vehicle a lot to create wealth.
So, Alita, I have a question for you really quickly. I know we're running out of time. But when we think of insurance, you just said whole life. So, whole life or term life or both?
Both. It depends on your goals. Let me first start off by saying that it depends on your goals. Sometimes people just may not need a certain amount of insurance. But one thing we do know, if you sit down and you realize you have a goal that you want to preserve some legacy as well as use benefits while you're living, then you would look at a combination of both. Too often, insurance is a taboo word in the black community.
Oh, yeah.
And while we run from it, they run to it, as Charmaine just said. And so I get it. We understand. We know why. We understand why. We know the timeline of what has happened with us and insurances. But it is the number one wealth-building tool out there. And it is a wealth-building tool because it solves an immediate problem immediately. It solves it right away in a very tax-free fashion. So you can't get almost any better than that. And then, of course, you don't have to wait till you're dead to use it. You have living benefits, multitudes of living benefits that you can exercise when you have these types of portfolios.
So, you know what? Say that again. You don't have to wait till you're dead, people. I think the taboo part of the black community is like, oh, I'm paying all this money so you can live good when I'm gone.
Not at all.
So, Alita, how old do you have to be in order to get a insurance policy? So, in other words, if I'm a mother and I have a newborn, can I get an insurance policy on that newborn right away?
Absolutely. Zero. You can do zero. You can. And honestly, that is the best time. Insurance is a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege. I say it all the time because the older you get, the more costly you get until you probably can't afford it at all. And if you become unhealthy, you can't get it at all. So the younger you are, the health that is where you're probably at your youngest and your healthiest.
Right, which is why I suggested when you're young, call you and get that insurance so that when you're older you can invest it. So how can people get in touch with you if they have been inspired to start somewhere?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, you can reach me at alisa.wilson@nm.com. That's ALEATHA.WILSON at NancyMMary.com. That's the best email to get me. You can go to my website at alisawilson.nm.com, or you can definitely just reach out and text me on my cell. I'll even give that out right now, 773-771-2227.
Well, thank you so very much because I know that you have a passion for not only the women, but just to making our culture financially healthy. And we have a passion here during Financial Literacy Month to give you all the information that you can use. This has been a great show, a hot topic that you all said that I said to people that y'all going to take it over tomorrow because they still want to talk about this Ohio situation. Yeah. But as for now, our segment is over for Chit-Chat and the Brunch Bunch is done for today, but not for the week because y'all need to tune in tomorrow and get more of the Brunch Bunch. And as always, lead with love and you will land on love, and always stay optimistic.